Hey everybody, welcome to the third and final installment of this week's Digest. I'm John Tatey, editor of the Gameological Society, and Drew Toll, Gameological contributor. This is our final day together.
I can't believe it.
Has the journey been all that you had hoped? Because you lobbied to be on the you were on the podcast and you lobbied to be on the Digest.
I did. I did take. I mean, I guess we can talk about it now. I did take some members of your family. I did take them hostage and resort to other kinds of insidious blackmail.
Yes.
But I made it. Hey, I'm on TV.
I fulfilled my end of the deal. We're almost done with our donuts, and the only one that remains is the jelly. Nobody wants to talk. It's tough to do TV and eat a jelly donut at the same time.
Sure is.
Which one of us is going to try? Stay tuned to find out. You stay tuned too. Okay. Let's talk about Datura.
Let's talk about it.
Did I pronounce it right?
I think you did.
Okay, let's talk about it then. Datura is a toxic genus of plants that, according to Wikipedia, can induce a complete inability to distinguish fantasy from reality and bizarre, possibly violent behavior when used as a drug. Datura the game isn't quite as trippy as that, but it is strange. You amble through a hallucinatory world using a hodgepodge of traditional and motion controls, occasionally plunging into some new visions where the goal can be hazy. A big part of the game, in fact, is figuring out what the game is. And while Datura does become clearer after a couple of hours, it's no less haunting for the clarity. Really, a big part of the game is figuring out how the game even works, because it offers you very little guidance, which I love.
Yeah. Yeah, it just drops you right in the middle of a forest. Well, first, I guess, it starts you in an ambulance.
That's right, that's right. You start on an ambulance. You never come back to the ambulance, though.
No. You're basically your entire character is this kind of disembodied hand.
Yeah.
That you control and that manipulates things. In the ambulance, you just rip off your...
what are those called? Electrodes?
Yeah.
Let's call them electrodes.
Yeah, the electrodes. And then, the nurse, I guess, in the back wasn't really paying attention. She thought you were actually flatlining.
Yeah. And
then comes over to you with the paddles,
That's right. And so you're zapped into this forest. It kind of reminded me, actually, of New Hampshire, where I grew up, some of the forests there. But I believe the game was made in Poland. And it actually reminded me of my grandfather's house, because he lived up in the woods. He was kind of a hermit, and he had this weird area called the sculpture garden. This is what he called it anyway, where he would collect junk, and this is true, I'm not making this up, he would collect junk and he would paint on it, and it would become the sculpture garden. And if you didn't know him, it had to be the weirdest thing. And this is like Sculpture Garden, the game.
Yeah, there's a bunch of kind of artifacts throughout the forest. Really the only, there's no instruction on how to interact with them. You're kind of told at the beginning that you touch these white trees and then parts of the map are revealed.
Right.
But beyond that, you're not told anything except there's, statues, fountains, there's a door to nowhere.
Right.
But it's all in this forest, and you just gotta kind of figure out how they all fit together and why they fit together.
So were you like me? Did you enjoy it more before you? Because it does become clear after a while sort of how the game works, and it's not that complicated as it turns out. Did you? And I found that to be not really a letdown. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't quite as much fun as having the mystery. How was it for you?
Yeah, I had a similar reaction to it. Once you kind of get a sense of how each of these things,
visions.
The visions, you and then each one, you have to, most of them you have to make a choice. Each vision, presumably leads you to a snapshot from your life or some decision you've made, or maybe it's just drug-induced hysteria.
It could just be. It could just be you're driving down the road. This was one of the visions that they sort of promoted the game with, what little promotion it got. And you're driving down the road, and then there's a pig in the middle of the road, and it's kind of terrifying, but it's not horror. And I hesitate to even call it psychological horror. It's just sort of psychological weird and unsettling.
Well, one of the scariest parts in the game for me was you're just walking down this forest path and something starts flying at you and you're not exactly sure what it is.
And then it turns out to be something rather banal.
Yeah, exactly. And it is like a drug.
Just say what it is. Just say what it is.
Okay. Well,
ahead.
The big secret is it's a tennis ball cannon I guess.
Right.
And it's just shooting these tennis balls at you, and you have to kind of block them with a trash can lid or something.
Out of nowhere. Like, there's no
yeah.
preface to this. It's just suddenly a tennis ball machine is...
Oh, and then, I mean, once you get close to it, it unlocks another vision.
That has nothing to do with tennis.
Nothing to do with tennis. All of a sudden, you're in the trenches in
World War I.
World War I.
Yeah.
I mean, wow. I don't really recreationally use drugs, but now I'm definitely not going to use them.
But that's the thing, is like, I don't use drugs either, but like, I will... For the purposes of the show, neither of us uses drugs, but I like the notion of playing a game to get that recreational experience, right? Like, I wish there were more games that were free associative and dreamlike and weird like this. And why aren't there? I mean, we've talked about this week 2 games, Max Payne 3 and Diablo 3, which adhere to genre. They're very narrow genre interpretations, I feel. They may be capable, but they're very narrow genre interpretations. And why aren't there more games like Datura that are just like, let's just go for it. Let's put you in an area where it's weird and you have this controller and you don't really know what to do with it.
Yeah, my biggest complaint about the game was that it only takes a couple hours to get through.
Right.
You know, we were talking about this earlier, that even though the game doesn't explain a lot, interacting with the different things in the forest is
straightforward.
Yeah, it's very straightforward, and each time you're kind of told what to do, like the buttons flash up on the screen.
Right. So if you get close to an object, it's like the triangle button, your triangle button interact, right?
Yeah, not only that, I mean, you can hit the triangle button to see where you should go next, and then once you get up to it, you hit the triangle button again, and then you just wave your hand around a little bit until it, keys the next sequence.
Yeah, I mean, the prompting did spoil the sort of hallucinatory feel a little bit, because, I don't know that I'd hallucinate a little triangle prompt at the bottom of the screen.
No. Well, maybe. Well,
maybe that was all part of the drug.
I don't know.
We got a little time left. You spotted something on the set here.
I did.
This is a recent acquisition. The Retron 3.
I mean, great name.
Right? Let's start with the name. Retron 3, I can't think of a better name.
I don't even remember the Retron 1.
It's the NES, SNES, and Genesis all in one, and it's got ports for all the controllers. It's even got a switch. You can switch it to the different systems. Oh my God. So you want one of these? We should give away one of these on the site.
Oh, yes. You guys are going to love it.
Okay. We'll give one away on the site soon. Drew's going to play with the Retron 3. Enjoy that, Drew. That's mine, though. You don't get to take that home.
Tap into the joy of your childhood. Can do.
Comes in gray or red. You can have the joy of your childhood in gray or red. Thanks so much for watching the digest. We'll be back next month, of course. Thanks for being here, Drew Toll.
I made it. This is a dream come true.
You made it to the end, and the jelly donut made it to the end. Okay? Hope you can be a jelly donut too. Make it to the end. Keep at it. I don't know what I'm talking about. So long. See you next month.